Ladies and gents, let me introduce you to Emma Hammett. Emma is one of our KPIs based in the UK. She founded First Aid for Life in 2007. It's the leading provider for first aid courses in Greater London and I suspect all across the UK. She's the first aid expert for the British Dental Journal, the British Journal of School Nursing, Nursing Times, Mail, The Guardian, The Times, Evening Standard. She is an absolute media sensation. She regularly speaks on Sky News and BBC and all major kind of news channels across the UK. She's the author of 4 highly acclaimed books, and who better than the woman herself to actually share an introduction to Emma Hammett. So enjoy this little montage. This will set the scene for our deep dive, our fireside with Emma.
Who are you and what do you do? I'm Emma Hammett and I run First Aid for Life and onlinefirstaid.com. It helped me feel free to position myself as First Aid for Life, the first aid experts. I would have had serious imposter syndrome before then. So it was a part of the process of going through KPI that made me think, do you know what? We do. We are. So consequently, absolutely, we are First Aid for Life and onlinefirstaid.com, and we are the first aid experts. And pre-KPI, I would have felt uncomfortable saying that, but actually it validated what we had been doing and made me feel confident that we could do that. The other thing it did was it made me feel far more confident partnering with larger organisations, sort of reaching some really powerful partnerships. So in terms of big wins, we've had, the likes of McDonald's. If something happened like Christian Eriksen when he collapsed on the pitch, I was absolutely inundated.
It was only through the quick thinking of Denmark players and medical staff that Christian Eriksen survived following the cardiac arrest. We caught up with Emma Hammett from First Aid for Life, and she demonstrated how to perform CPR.
ITV News, BBC News, Sky News. I had to do something on London Live. I was going in and into studios. I had TV teams coming to me to teach them how to use a defibrillator, how to give CPR, and then I ended up on all their books. So going on TV and reaching an even larger audience. I've done this over many years actually now, to do product safety and support in their baby food and explaining the difference between choking and gagging and doing campaigns on that. And then I've done an awful lot with Duracell on their battery safety. Now, the important thing as well is it's got to be a good fit. So those fitted very well with me. I'm an avid campaigner on safety around button batteries, because if a child swallows them or puts them in their ear or up their nose, they form caustic soda and they burn and cause life-changing injuries or can kill them. And so they know that I am a really strong campaigner on that, and to want to link their product with me, for me to campaign how they are trying to make batteries safer and differentiate, I felt very comfortable with that. I get asked to represent an awful lot of other companies, and they're not right. So it has to be the right fit. And if it's the right fit and the promotion works, it can be a really beautiful, symbiotic and helpful partnership. And it can really help with the promotion and the publicity elements of the sort of KPI too.
So ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Emma Hammett.
Thank you. Hello, hi. Thank you very much for inviting me on.
Lovely to have you here. It must be funny seeing yourself on the camera like that, kind of introducing yourself. But I thought that was a wonderful way to get everyone a little more connected to the incredible work you do. Congratulations on all the success you've had with your business. It's quite phenomenal.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's very nice to sit back and see it, because I think as entrepreneurs, sometimes it sort of grows steadily. And you need to sit back and say, actually, do you know what? We've done a really good job, and pat yourself on the back, and it's good for the whole team.
Totally. So what was, tell us a little bit more about what was life like before you joined KPI? How was the business? Where were you at? What kind of stage of development was it at? Because my understanding is you're always good at content. You had some media going, but you really had no kind of strategy bringing it together.
I think that's about it, really. So I started a content marketing strategy from the offset, really. Part of it is that I'm interested in what I do, and I write a lot and I like writing, and I felt that it was a really good way to get my message across and to create things that could be shared and stuff. So I had the idea behind it, and I'm not quite sure where that came from. So I was definitely very well aligned. And when I found Daniel and KPI, it was like, wow, well, this is what I'm doing, but on steroids. So I hadn't written any books at that point, and I was still also a little bit reticent about putting myself out there as much as I do now, because I think when you start off, you're always waiting to be knocked back a little bit. I think your confidence, you haven't developed the resilience that you need to as an entrepreneur. And we do all need a fair amount of resilience. And I think there is a huge amount of imposter syndrome. So I think that was an issue too. And I think what Daniel did was give me a real boost, a tremendous structure to what I was doing, and some names to put all my different things under, so that it all then made sense. There was a plan that I could then communicate to my small team, as it was then. And I had a way of scaling as well, because at that point I hadn't yet written 53 online courses, which has meant that it's opened up the whole world to what I do and the way we are discovered. And my YouTube channel at that point was doing okay, but nothing like it is now. And understanding how it should all fit together, and giving me a vision as to what it could be, and helping me as well to understand the lifetime value of some of my bigger clients and where I should be focusing a lot of my time. Because I think as well, as a relatively new entrepreneur, you can end up with a bit of a scattergun approach, particularly with something like first aid. Lots of people need first aid, and you can end up going, yeah, well, I do it for them, I do it for them, I do it for them. And actually, it helps you to value your time better and to focus your time better.
I've got lots of questions, Emma, and of course we're talking to everybody else in the community as a KPI, or in the Startup Accelerator, or some of our more advanced programs. And you published your first book. You're now about to publish your fifth.
Mm-hmm.
Why did you double down on publishing so much, and how did you overcome some of the inherent challenges of just putting a book out there?
Well, part of it is understanding why you're writing a book. So I always sort of felt I might have a book in me, but we were starting. So when I was doing the KPI, we were starting to do first aid for dogs, because we were established in the first aid for humans. And I had just done a teenage course, and one of the lads on the course had gone back after the course and saved his pet. So he'd saved his pug, Houston, who had just choked on the face of the caterpillar cake, and keeled over and died in the middle of a birthday party. And Gus kept his head, picked up his pug, and said, I've just learned what to do this morning on this. And he literally turned Houston upside down and did what he'd been taught to do on a baby, and saved Houston's life. And then I started investigating. I found out that there's recover guidelines that goes through and investigate and has set up all the different aligned first aid for pets to first aid for humans. And that, as well as it being fully recognized, St. John and the Red Cross are doing first aid for pets in the US and Australia and nailing it. And there was a market there. So it was the start of a market. So I needed to put the things I was learning and writing with veterinary professionals into a book that would become our course manual. So sorry, it's a long answer to quite a short question. So it was a course manual that I then published. That course manual, some professionals in Russia wanted to get the publishing rights for that as well, because there are a lot of dog owners there. And I realized that actually it's a way of leveraging my brand, and you get discovered all over the place. So I then had a tangible asset, a book, that could also be repurposed multiple different ways. So it can be handed out on courses. It can be accessed internationally. It can be turned into an ebook. I can sell it on Amazon. And then, of course, I then went on to publish more and to look at, because the other thing that Dan taught me as well, what Daniel taught me, was to look at who can endorse your book. So you can then get even greater leverage from that. So my next book, I got the Child Accident Prevention Trust to endorse it, and the Good Toy Guide. My one after that, which was for older people, I went to Age UK and I went to ROSPA. So yeah, that picture of Boris needs to come and go. It depends what Boris has been up to.
But you've had some wonderful endorsements.
So it's about, once you get your book then endorsed by another organization, and a big one, you can then leverage all their supporters and followers. So it then just keeps growing. And as well as writing the book, that book then became a course. And also all the contents of that book became individual blogs. So it's really a no-brainer. So you're writing it, you're sorting it, and it's something that will then have huge longevity that saves you a massive amount of time along the way.
And yet, it's one of those things that often I think we struggle to get started, to actually have a bit of a game plan around it. Was there anything in particular for you that just gave you a little bit of that momentum and oomph to get going?
Well, I think it was the KPI. I wouldn't have actually known how to start and actually how easy it is. So it's a lot of work, but we're all entrepreneurs. We're all used to work, but it's work that you're probably going to be doing anyway. And self-publishing is remarkably easy. And I think it's it's easy to overthink things when you're starting. I think it's the same when you start a business. I'm a mentor for the British Library, and I meet a lot of would-be entrepreneurs who are still perfecting it before they're going to put it out there. And I think you have to take a deep breath and put your big girl pants on and say, do you know what? It's not going to be perfect. Not everyone's going to like it, but if it's not out there, then no one's going to see anything. So what's the point in having it all up here and it keeping you awake at night? Let's just get it down. And then once it's out there, you can then perfect it based on feedback. I mean, I think lots of us have started with a word art logo and a...
Totally. Well said, Emma. And Emma, you've become a bit of a media sensation. Like you've appeared all across all the major news channels. Your YouTube channel has now grown to over 10 million views as well. So just congratulations. That's incredible.
Thank you.
How did you go about that to kind of help us break down, for those that are on the call wanting to also expand their audience like this and maybe get into some traditional media? What was your steps that you followed that really helped move the needle in those areas?
Well, again, on KPI or Dent, I was at the transition when it went from KPI to Dent. They helped.
How many years ago did you start the program?
About 10 years.
Okay, 10 years, right? So this is also just another key insight for everybody, is that it takes time. It takes time. It's like a little curve that goes, you get some of those really big quantum leaps at the end of the journey, or sort of much further along than necessarily in those first couple of years. But sorry, Emma, keep going.
No, it's good. So I think part of KPI was about getting your media pack together. You've got to make it easy for people. So when they contact you, you've got to be able to instantly give them what they want. So I think probably initially someone contacted me because they'd found something on my blog. Because the thing is that once you've got your blogs out there, your blogs are your search engine for people finding where you are the expert. So think about your search terms, think about your alt tags, think about how you're going to be discovered by people who might just randomly be Googling and come up with what you do right at the top. Because you want your organic search to be absolutely on it. So once you've got your organic search out there, so you are the expert for whatever niche you are, or for multiple niches, then people will start finding you. So I think probably my initial one was, I can't remember, but it was somebody looking for a comment because they were writing an article. So some journalist writing an article about something and they wanted to fact check it. Be ready, be straight back on them. If they phone you up, get straight back, be there, be ready to go above and beyond. You know, well, if you're writing that bit, would you like me to write that paragraph for you? I'm very happy to do that. Have pictures ready, have everything to make their life as easy as possible. I joined the Guild of Health Writers because that's my niche. And then you're in with a whole load of other journalists. They may not necessarily like you because I'm not charging for my writing, which they may not always like, but I know my subject matter and I will write it very well and I will turn it round and write it very quickly. So I think I was writing for a bit as well for people. I had a friendly journalist in the who was on the Mail Online, and he used to take my blogs without asking me, which was fine, which was great, and then he used to publish them on the Mail Online with a link to me, which awesome. So he also used to fact check things too, and then other people. So then the BBC started doing a bit of that, and then I got called into. Started doing a radio show on Talk Radio with Eamon Holmes. And then somebody mentioned it to someone else. I was then on the list at Sky, I was on the list at BBC. And once you're on these lists and you've come in, you're reliable, you bring in some interesting stuff, they get engagement around what you do, you can be nice to people, and then they will call you.
It snowballs. It sounds like it really starts with that one relationship. You know, you build a relationship, it leads to maybe another relationship, and it just kind of starts to snowball a bit from there. Because again, from what I understand and hear, is like once you're in the good books with any of these media channels, you keep giving them good stuff and you stay in there for a long time. They don't need to go searching for alternative voices.
No, they want an easy life. They want someone who will reliably turn up. Imagine if they called someone who said, oh, yeah, and then they got cold feet and didn't turn up. They will then have a gap, a big gap to fill. So they want someone who isn't going to give them any stress or hassle and will turn up and give a good, sensible outlet as to whatever they want you to talk about. And I'm happy to do that.
What's been the biggest challenges along the journey for you, Emma? Both
COVID.
whether it's building the business or even just applying the 5 Ps, what's been the struggles?
Well, COVID was massive for us because obviously we're a very hands-on business. But fortunately, I had created onlinefirstaid.com in 2014. So what I lost in my practical business, I gained in my online business, and we were helped by, prior to all that, St. John and the Red Cross were busy being a little bit protectionist, and they didn't want any online courses out there in first aid. They were saying you can't learn first aid online. And of course, there are elements you can learn online, and actually blended learning is really powerful in first aid. It's a really good way to learn. So they had been protectionist. So when COVID hit, there weren't many people that were doing online learning in first aid well. So McDonald's came to us, and we trained over 1,000 of their managers during that COVID time in first aid, so that they could reopen their stores, because otherwise they couldn't open without the health and safety side. So we were ready to say, yeah, of course we'll do it. We'll write a bespoke course for you. We will have that ready in 2 weeks, no problem. Say yes to things. It's really important. And then worry about how the heck you're going to do it when you've got no team because they're all furloughed. But just say yes and get it done. So COVID was massive for us, and it was a long time growing, and it's still having impact now, because obviously people couldn't renew. It's then 3 years. We then had a mass of people renewing, so we were totally overwhelmed. And now 3 years on, it's all messed up. It's messed up everything. Working from home has messed up our predictability as to which days we run which courses. The transport strikes have been a nightmare for us, and the cost of living has impacted us. So we've had to be mega resilient. We're still here. We're still growing, not at the rate we'd like to, but actually, pats on the back for all of us. We love what we do, and we're still here. But yes, we've had mega challenges, and it goes all across your 5 Ps.
And how many are on the team today?
So I've got 58 trainers across the UK. And I've got a team of, how many have I got in there now? I've got 6. But I've also got a graphic designer in Buenos Aires. No, she just moved to Spain, but she was in Buenos Aires. I've got my tech people are in India. And actually, that's a real plus to COVID, that it kicked our butts to get everything off paper and get us digital, truly digital, which obviously helps our carbon footprint too, which is good. But it also has changed our whole way of working. So on Fridays, everyone works from home, which everyone likes. And the other 4 days in the week, everyone's in the office because they like being in the office. So it's flexible.
And Emma, I understand that you've kind of really turned this into a great lifestyle business for you. Can you just sort of share some of the things that what doing the 5 Ps and having this leverage has enabled for you as far as enjoying more time, freedom, opportunities, benefits?
Absolutely. So in terms of turning it into a lifestyle business, I'm not a unicorn. I'm never going to be a unicorn. I don't want to be a unicorn. So, a fast growing business, I think, if I'd started it 30 years, 40 years previously, then maybe I would have been a little bit more ambitious. But actually, it's always been about work-life balance and trying to get to a point where the business works for you and you can have some time out of it and it's still there. So we have built up our assets. So everything that Daniel says about, your assets, build up your 24 assets and everything is very, very strong. And once you have all those assets, so once I've got my online courses in place, my blogs, I don't have to rewrite hundreds of blogs. I can repurpose them. My team can update them and refresh them, but I don't have to be sitting there doing them. I don't have to be doing creating new videos, because I need to keep it slightly fresh, but actually they're working very nicely for me. So I have more time. My team have a structure, which they didn't have previously. So they've got a proper structure they can work through, and I can go off. I'm going off grid to Africa for a month, something I've always wanted to do. And I'm going to do some humanitarian work on the Kenyan-Ugandan border. I'm going to be on the back of a motorbike using my nursing skills. I couldn't have done that. I couldn't have done that 3 years ago. My team are amazing. My structure's in place. And all that is thanks to having that guidance through Dent and KPI to help me to see the structure I needed and get to the point where it can work for us.
And I can see from your YouTube channel, for example, which 27,000 subscribers. You've got, as you said, 10 million, I think 10 million views now. So congratulations. But as you say, you know, some of your most popular videos were from 8 years ago or 7 years ago. So,
Mhm.
you know, they
We
just
mustn't touch those.
they keep on working for you.
Yeah, mustn't touch those. You know, it doesn't mean that we can't produce new stuff. And actually, I'm in the process of doing all the first aid for cat stuff now at the moment, because that's a big gap, and we've been saving lots of choking cats from the video we've got on there. So now I'm writing my first aid for cats book and my first aid for cats course, and you know, that's a whole new market that is yet to be tapped.
So Emma, I'll open up to some questions from those in the audience who'd like to maybe ask Emma some questions about her journey in a second. But Emma, just one thing, you've received many different awards and endorsements through the work you do, but you were awarded the British Empire Medal in 2024. So congratulations on that. What's been, and I hope this is not a loaded question, but what have been some of the more proud moments in your journey? What are you really proud to have achieved and
Oh,
done?
there's been those. Do you know what's been a really big one for me? And it was it's a personal one, but actually being able to help my two children onto the property ladder in their 20s. So, you know, we're not talking mega bucks, but we're talking a substantial amount to be able to help them along with their dreams. And that is thanks to the business, because I couldn't have done that without the business. So things like that, you know, when people say, "Oh, what would you like to achieve from there?" And I've done that, which is nice. I've only got two children; they're both on the property ladder, very little flats, but they're there and they're self-sufficient. Being able to have my own time, I think that's really important, and being able to take some time away from the business, which allows me to think about it from a distance and be really excited about it, which I think is very good. The British Empire Medal was huge. I haven't got it yet. Going to the Tower of London in November, so I've got my hat, and I'll be picking that up. So that was a massive accolade. Partnering with other organisations that I wouldn't have thought would have looked twice at us. So our mental health courses are written with clinicians from the Maudsley Hospital, and you know, that's great. They're the experts, so it all helps and supports what we're doing, and how it all works, and everything gets a little bit easier. So I get superb trainers asking to come and work with us that I can then vet and sort. Whereas when I started off, I was touting around trying to find people who might like to work with this unknown company. But now people really want to work with us. They want a bit of what we've got. And we've got a very good reputation across the industry. And that's something that I'm very proud of. I'm at the Old Bailey tomorrow night with my work with preventing young people from carrying knives. So I've been invited along to the Old Bailey, where we're going to court number 1, and they've got a group of young people who've got caught up with stuff that they would sooner not have got caught up with. And we go in with our first aid training, and we show them that carrying a knife makes them more vulnerable. So they're far more likely to be injured by their own knife. So that is a really important thing that we're doing to try and prevent people carrying knives. We do a lot of work teaching people. I mean, we're teaching people how to save lives. We're teaching people to empowering themselves to help themselves and to help other people. And that's pretty special. My sister had a car accident, and she was unconscious in the car, and her airway was blocked. There were people around, and nobody knew how to open her airway. And had somebody known how to get in behind and just open her airway, she may not have been brain damaged as she was. She was severely brain damaged. It was pretty much the end of her life, but she carried on living for another 22 years. So I want to make sure that that doesn't happen to other people, that people have these skills. They know how to use these simple first aid skills to look after people's quality of life, as well as keeping them alive. So it's all about making sure that this skill is taught properly, and it's taught by appropriate individuals, because there is a huge variance in quality between different first aid training providers, and people don't realize that. So we want to do it absolutely at the top of our game. So all my team are medical health and emergency services professionals, which is pretty unique.
Emma Hammett, wow, just little kind of goosebumps. I think I feel much more inspired about going through additional training just in hearing what you're doing myself personally. And I think the mission is obviously like touching and moving so many people around the world. Give Emma a round of applause, please, ladies and gents. Feel free to jump off mute and just say a kudos, hurrah, well done to Emma.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Super amazing.
Emma,
Super amazing.
thank you.
For sharing.
Amazing stuff, Emma. Well done.
Thank you. And thank you to Daniel and the team at KPI as well, because you've been part of my journey.
Well, thank you. A little part. Can we just open up to one or two questions, and then I'll introduce you to David Fraser next. Any questions for Emma? Feel free to raise a hand, digital hand, or
I've got a quick
come off
question.
mute. Go, Steve.
Fantastic story and wonderful journey, Emma. Really, really great to see what you've accomplished. As someone new to the KPI experience, if you, knowing what you know now and what you've accomplished in the last decade since you started KPI, what's the one thing that you would give someone new to the journey to pay attention to? And what's the one thing you would give to someone new to the journey to not let distract them?
Oh, really good question. I think the most important advice I was ever given was value your time and value it appropriately. I think it's very easy when you're starting up to try and do everything yourself. And you need to delegate, and you need to delegate stuff that doesn't float your boat, that's a distraction from your mission and your vision for the business. And make sure that you are thinking very sensibly about what you're doing with your time, because your time is incredibly valuable. And actually paying someone to do your bookkeeping or to help create some of your marketing communications or some of your graphics or something allows you more time to spend looking at how you want to guide the business. In terms of what I wouldn't be distracted with is, I think it's very easy when you start off to ask too many people too many questions about whether or not it's a good idea. Trust yourself. Trust yourself. Get it out there. Don't perfect it before it's there. And then look at proper feedback that you're getting on what you've put out there and perfect it and tweak it around based on that. And as soon as you can, try and be data driven. So get proper structures in place so that you are getting a way of listening to what people are saying and using it in a way to drive your business so that you are giving people what they want, and you'll get new ideas from that as well.
Appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Yeah, good luck.
Great insights. One more quick question. Feel free to just jump off mute.
Hi, Emma.
Hi.
What did you did so that the media start asking you to come and share your knowledge? What were the key things that you did so you were visible for key people, so they invite you to the media and share your knowledge?
Yeah, good question. I think it's the fundamental element of everything. So get a blog or somewhere where you can be found online, and make sure that it is resonating with the people you would like it to resonate, so it is interesting and engaging, and make sure that you've got all the different tags and the SEO sorted. So have an SEO plugin if you're on WordPress, for example, that will enable you to be fine-tuning to check that your search engine optimization is at its best. So Google, for example, it can't see images. So any pictures you put up there have to have the right alt tags behind them with the right wording so that it will come up. So once you start being found, you get found all over the place. So we got found, for example, by a veterinary organization in Bahrain who wanted us to write a first aid and for veterinary professionals in Bahrain and across the UAE. So that was all discovered by them Googling us. The same when we went out to Riga, it was, again, it was Statoil that had Googled us to find out who they'd put in First Aid Experts UK. We came up, so fantastic. And they wanted us to go out to Riga, so they shipped us out to go and train their team there. So it's the same with media, it's the same with new business. Make sure that everything you put out there is good quality, and it resonates with the audience you want it to resonate with.
Great feedback. Ladies and gents, one more time, round of applause for Emma Hammett. Thank you, Emma, for being here. We really appreciate your time and appreciate you sharing your story so openly. Congratulations again.
Thank you. Thank you very much indeed. And yeah, have a great day, guys.
Yeah, and very, very humble too. It's wonderful